let me just get a quick check of the audience over here. So how many of you are developers? Always happen to ask the wrong question. How many of you are not? I think because majority of you are. It's okay. I mean, you could be entrepreneurs, startup founders, etc. Okay. How many of you, use or contribute to open source projects? Most of us. Okay. Great. All right, so just a quick introduction. I'm Karan, and I manage developer relations for DigitalOcean in India. And this session is going to be on DigitalOcean marketplace. So I'll give you a quick, overview of the DigitalOcean marketplace, both from a developer's perspective of how you can use it, and also if you are one of, a vendor or a partner who has their own, not blank screens, but projects where you can list some of these for other developers to use, how you can go about that as well. All right, so how many of you recall this screen? Great, so then I don't have to explain it, but I will. So just giving you again, like an overview of where the products at DigitalOcean have come from, right from the initial droplets to the more recent managed Kubernetes and marketplace and general purpose droplets, managed databases, and many others. We've come a long way in simplifying experience for developers in various different ways, both in terms of the products that we offer, the features that these products contain, and also making it more holistic for many of the teams and developers to use. So as you see, one of the most recent things have been DigitalOcean Marketplace. How many of you have tried it out already? Great. So can any one of you please come and then speak about this? I'm just kidding. Yes, you'll be next. So just to give you an overview, this is something which we launched very recently, as early as just a month ago, with 40 one-click apps. So if you have been a user of DigitalOcean anytime, I'm sure you would have come across the one-click apps of DigitalOcean. So whenever you're creating a droplet, you need not have to start building out all of your frameworks and libraries and everything, especially the common tech stacks from the beginning. You can just use a one-click app and then get going. So you can almost think of a marketplace as the next level or the next version of how we are enabling a much more simpler means of using these one-click apps for developers out there. So we started with 40 one-click apps across various different domains, like how you can see right from developer tools like GitLab and cPanel to frameworks like Docker and blogs and forums, Django. You can pretty much see a lot of the familiar ones over here. I know that many of you might be thinking that I might play like a logo quiz game over here, but no. You can actually find all of these out here when you go to DigitalOcean Marketplace or when you're creating a droplet using any one of these one-click apps. So there'll be more apps coming in, but these are the ones which are available right from today, or rather a month ago, to use. So this is more towards for people who are interested in having your own one-click apps on the DigitalOcean marketplace, to make it more easier for many of the developers to create or spin up your framework or library on the DigitalOcean droplets. So DigitalOcean has a huge community, a global community of 3.5 million developers, and listing your particular one-click app or the framework or library that you're building can give you a potential reach of so many people, developers, to use your specific one-click app, and also find new committers. So whenever you put up like a one-click app, and this is a learning that we have had through the one-click apps as well, is when people are discovering it and when people are using it on their own droplet, and when they come across and then see any of the issues, and it's the nature of developers to go back and then try to fix it and actually commit that back. So you can find new committers, contributors, or maintainers back to your one-click apps. And also, if you look at it from more from a business standpoint, it will also help you create new revenue streams, because you'll be able to reach more developers across and have more revenue streams. So right now, there are no billing options or kind of plans built into the marketplace right now, but that's something which will be coming in soon in 2019, where you'll have billing options and licensing and everything else. So the below part again is how all of us, as developers, can really benefit from the marketplace. Is you can discover and deploy. So you don't really have to do many of the things right from scratch. Though you might think that if it's just like a, I don't know, like a WordPress installation or a Docker C installation, many of us might be pretty kind of apt at getting it done at the first shot itself. There could be various other one-click apps which are pretty detailed in configuration and the way that it is set up. Unfortunately, not like this, but and also it eliminates the burden of research, and manual configuration. So if you are wanting to deploy a one-click app, do I, just do like a just do I use like a Git clone, or do like a Docker pull, or what all do I have to configure, and are there any package dependencies it has, and all those things is something which you don't really have to worry about. And also, again, as I mentioned, these are ready to go tech stacks, and you can have them deployed on a droplet in the same amount of time it would take to actually get a droplet up and running, which is 60 seconds or even less. For those of you, again, who are interested in how to list your one-click applications, the process is also as simple as creating a one-click app on a droplet. You just have to register to become a marketplace vendor, where you have to share some details of what is your one-click app and who might it be beneficial for, etc. And also, you have to build your image. So there are some tools that we have built out of how you can build your image. You can either do like a manual build your droplet and snapshot it, and then run it by a tool check, or you can use something like fabric.py, or you can use even like a Packer image, and then just run through some certain check processes to ensure some of the security guidelines and all are in place. And also, you have to give details about your listing, as to how you want it to appear, what are all the details about your one-click app, where do you find support for it, what are the initial configuration steps, etc. And also engage with the community as and when they have more questions that they have regarding your one-click app, and various different things. So this has been something which has been around for the past 1 month, around one clicks and marketplace. But there is it's continuously evolving, and there are a lot more features which are being added to the marketplace. An example being new apps and categories. So like how you have seen, there have been a lot of the developer tooling categories right now, but there'll be more apps coming in, and there'll also be something like a seller management for folks who want to see how much they want to have the revenue streams that have been generated, and the adoption and all those things. And also you'll come across that with DigitalOcean Kubernetes integration as well soon. And also these, as of now, the DigitalOcean marketplace largely builds on top of Droplet, wherein you can deploy your one-click apps. But soon there'll be more of SaaS and API partners as well, which will be available on the marketplace. So that was like a quick overview of what marketplace is, and for a much more demo of how marketplace is, and then what are some of the one-click apps that you can use. I would like to call upon Gautam, a software engineer from Grafana, and he's one of the maintainers of the famous monitoring system Prometheus as well, who will show you a little more deeper demo of the DigitalOcean marketplace and the Grafana one-click app, and also give a basic setup of Grafana as well. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions around marketplace itself, feel free to ask any one of us from DigitalOcean who might be around. Thank you, and over to you, Gautam.
So the HDMI cable is stuck into his laptop. All right, we're set. So I'm going to talk about Grafana and the DigitalOcean marketplace. Before I get started, I'm Gautam. I am a Prometheus and Cortex maintainer. So how many of you have heard of Prometheus before? Oh, wow. How many of you used Prometheus before? That's amazing. How many of you use Prometheus every single day? Wow, okay. I'm impressed. So for those of you who don't know what Prometheus is the world's best monitoring system. Guess why? Because I work on it. But yeah, Prometheus is a CNCF project. It's a graduated CNCF project. It's a very stable monitoring system. And it's heavily used by over hundreds of thousands of companies. If you're running Kubernetes, you're most likely monitoring your Kubernetes using Prometheus. And Cortex is another CNCF project. It's also open source. It's a horizontally scalable distributed version of Prometheus for scaling Prometheus. I'm a huge observability nerd, which means I deal with Prometheus, monitoring, logging, and tracing. And I'm also building a continuous profiling solution in my free time. I'm here as a developer at Grafana Labs, the company behind Grafana. And I just recently picked up cycling. This last Sunday, I did my first 100 kilometers, and it took me till yesterday to get my legs back. Fun. So yeah, what is Grafana? How many of you know what Grafana is? I'm assuming everyone knows what Grafana is. How many of you look at Grafana every single day? Oh, that's amazing. For those of you who don't know what Grafana is, this is Grafana, the world's most beautiful software to look at your data. So yeah, you can look at your data, you can create lots of visualizations, and they can be in dark mode or light mode. I like the dark mode better. Little more about the Grafana project. It's an open source project started in January 2014. It's Apache 2.0 licensed. It has more than 28,000 GitHub starts. So essentially, if you're an open source enthusiast, you know the most important metric for an open source project is GitHub starts, right? And it has more than 5,000 folks, which is crazy, to be honest. But again, I don't think just GitHub stars validate a project. We're also growing massively in users. So essentially, if you install Grafana, by default, we have telemetry, which Grafana every day just pings home saying, hey, I'm up. And we are seeing 230,000 active Grafana installations. And that's only growing over time, as you can see. Further, like a lot of people disable this telemetry, which means there's a lot more Grafana instances out in the wild. It's a vibrant community. And one of the main reasons Grafana is so successful is because it is the best at visualizing time series. If you want to visualize your time series, Grafana is the way. But what is a time series? Time series is just values marked by time. Essentially, value could be like at time t0, this is the value, time t plus 5, this is the value, and so on. And when you're monitoring time series, usually the time difference, the period between the values is fixed. And you can do alerting, you can do graphing, you can do capacity planning on top of it. Just to give you a little more context, what is the most obvious example of a time series? What? Yeah, metrics are time series, but the most obvious should be weather. At 5 o'clock, it's 30 degrees. That's a value, that's a time. At 6 o'clock, it's 35 degrees, and so on. So weather in Bangalore is a time series. You can graph it. You can predict it. And if a lot of you are startup enthusiasts, and if you want to get your startup to IPO, the other obvious candidate is stock tickers. So even they are time series. They are values marked by time. So yeah, I mean, do we want to graph weather and stock tickers? Yes, people do that. People actually graph the like the price of blockchain on Grafana, which is funny. But the most obvious case is operations and business data, like operations as in the memory and CPU over time. And business data could be like the amount of revenue, amount of logins, amount of signups, and stuff. So you can visualize all of this. It's pretty great. But why is Grafana so successful? So essentially, how many of you are familiar with a UI like this? This was what was the state of the art like 10 years ago. Luckily, I didn't have to see this, but apparently you need to get an engineer, and the engineer has to go do some engineering to get this. And you want to make a small change, you have to go call the engineer again. That was hard, but that changed with the advent of time series databases, like MySQL for relational databases, MongoDB for document-based databases. A new form of databases came just for storing time series. They're super optimized for time series. They made time series easy and accessible. You can see which is the best out of these four. Of course, it's Prometheus. But yeah, Grafana initially started with Graphite, then added more and more time series databases. And today, Grafana is so popular that either we or the community builds an integration for any time series database out in the wild. We know more than 54 time series data sources. It could, including MySQL. If you have your time series data in MySQL, you can look at it in Grafana. If you have it in CSV, you can look at it in Grafana. You can explore. Basically, I think we support all the time series databases on the planet. One of the great things about Grafana is, apart from being beautiful, it's also fully interactive. If you want to see and zoom in, you can actually select a time range and you can zoom into that. And if you find an anomaly, like what is this big spike, you can zoom into that further to figure out what the issue is. It's completely interactive, and it has great autocomplete. When you're building your graphs, you write your queries. There's inbuilt autocomplete for all your queries, so that it's just super simple to write queries. It's either autocomplete or click, 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 and you have your graphs. We also have inbuilt alerting. So once you have your time series, you should be like, okay, if I use more than 80% of the CPU for the last 5 minutes, send me an alert, something is wrong. If I am getting API error rate of more than 1%, send me an alert. Grafana lets you do that. Like, it's a full end-to-end solution for your monitoring. It has a ton of visualizations. Like, this is the simplest visualization, the graph panel. You can have a table panel. You can have a simple table, or you can have like tables with fillings. You can have histograms to see which is the most active bucket. You can see that, okay, buckets, like there are a lot of requests in the 200 to 300 millisecond range, but very few requests that are taking more than 400. So you can kind of visualize different things. We have bar charts, pie charts, all of that inbuilt. Having said that, one of the reasons Grafana is so popular is because of the plugin system. You can build your own plugins. We have a lot of plugins on the community site that lets you create your own visualizations. For example, the world map panel. Literally, if you have a lot of data centers around the world and you want to look at the status in one page, it's the world map panel. So here you can see all my European and Asian data centers are fine, but something is wrong in Florida and New Jersey. So this is one way of visualizing your data. And if you want to use Plotly.js, if you're familiar with it, there's a panel for that. Yeah, this is just a normal panel. This is interesting. So if you are Elasticsearch as a service provider and you have like 40 Elasticsearch clusters, you can have one for each box. And you can, at one glance, look at how many are active, how many are healthy and stuff. And you can actually click on this box and go deep dive into that cluster. So yeah, and all these dashboards, you need not build them. We have a community site where people can share dashboards. And if you're monitoring MySQL, there's a dashboard for that already. You just go and install that dashboard, and you have MySQL monitoring built in. So we'll go through all of this. But first, let me show you some examples. So if you can't see this, somebody actually took his Battlefield gaming stats and visualize it in Grafana. So essentially this has like accuracy of 28% in shooting and a kills to death ratio of 2.8. And over time you can actually store this and look at it and you can see, shit, my accuracy is getting better, my accuracy is getting worse, and things like that. So that is one use case. But I'm gonna show you like this, the dashboards that I'm showing have been shared in GrafanaCon. So by an Australian company that does emergency medical services. So essentially it's an ambulance provider company. And they do all their monitoring to check if everything is fine or not using Grafana, like at least some of that. So this is just a normal panel. You can see a lot of graphs, bar charts, a table and stuff. But things get better. So again, there's a world map panel. One look at things if they're green or not. There's a pie chart. And this is interesting. How many of you did some kind of network weather maps, network monitoring? So, or some kind of distributed system. So when a distributed system fails, if taking out one node can actually have issues downstream, right? So if you can actually visualize it this way, you can see which is causing that. Like especially in networks, you have a complicated network. One router is down. Of course, the reachability of all the other routers connected to it are down. But just by having one look at this map, you can actually figure out what's wrong. So the examples that I'm showing are just the different kind of visualizations that you can do in Grafana so that you know how your business and how your applications are performing. Yeah, I am more or less done with the examples of all the amazing things that you can do. Let's get down to the demo. Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me? Cool. So I need to do a little bit of messing around. Yeah, okay, cool. So, as Karan said, let's visit marketplace.digitalocean.com. And where did that go? Yeah, there we go. So this is the DigitalOcean marketplace. You can actually search for the apps you want. Like literally you can search for Grafana and it should turn up, but you can also look up, let me do this, yeah. You can also look at the complete list of apps. And yeah, more like it. So there's a bunch of apps. Let's search for Grafana. Yeah, and let's go to Grafana. And you can create the droplet by clicking it here, and the instructions of what to do after the droplet are given here. Once you launch the droplet, you'll also get an email telling you what to do. So let me just create a droplet. Oh God. See, I've done this practice so many times, including 10 minutes before the talk, and it logs me out during the demo. User not found. That's interesting. Hopefully it works. Yeah, it does. All right. So yeah, it goes to the marketplace view. Even if you click create, let me just, yeah, if you click create here, you usually get distributions, but you can also go to the marketplace and choose your app. And Grafana runs on a very tight node. You can run it on a $5 node, but I've noticed that for the demo, the $10 node comes up faster. So let's create one in Bangalore. Let's add my SSH key, and let's call it Grafana tight demo. Let's create one. So DigitalOcean says the droplet is created in 60 seconds or less, but I've timed it and it usually takes 75 seconds. You should get that right. While the droplet loads, if you also want to play around with Grafana, you can visit play.grafana.org, which is a pre-built dashboard with illustrating all the great things about Grafana. You can actually go to Elastic, I don't know, InfluxDB, and you can edit some InfluxDB queries. Again, it's clicking here instead of autocomplete. I want to show you something else. I want to show you the alerting, for example. So essentially, you can have metrics per second. If there are too many metrics per second, send me an alert. So you can see that where the threshold is being crossed. Right now, there is nothing that is beyond a threshold, so everything is okay. And when I say it's just not getting green or red, you can get Slack notification, PagerDuty notification. We have a ton of integrations that will literally call you up if something is wrong, which is what you want. You don't want your users to call you up saying site is down. You want Grafana to call you up. So yeah. So hopefully this is done. Yes, it is. So if you go to Grafana, it says go to droplet IP 3000. Let's go there. Oops, droplet IP 3000. And you have Grafana. And the instructions tell me that the default is admin, and it will ask me to create a new password. I'll make that admin because it's very secure. So step 1 is install Grafana. Step 2 is visualize data, but before we get to step 2, you need to tell Grafana what data source to talk to. So you can go here, look at your data sources, add a data source. And these are the default data sources that come with Grafana. There's MySQL, there's Prometheus, there's OpenTSDB, InfluxDB. And you can also add more data sources if you want, like CloudWatch and stuff. So let's add a Prometheus data source because that's the demo I'm going to do. No. com.keycon.tech 1990. Let me check. Okay, data source is working. And when you add a data source, you ideally want to monitor your own MySQL, or you want to monitor your own Prometheus and stuff, right? So we have inbuilt dashboards for each data source. So if you go here, if you go to dashboards, there's a Prometheus 2.0 stats dashboard. Let's look at that. So yeah, so this is us monitoring Prometheus, the scrape duration of Prometheus, number of samples appended per second, number of blocks that we are loading, a bunch of metrics, and you can actually zoom in and zoom out. Yeah, so I created it less than 5 hours ago, so you can see there's no data there. So now you have this. I told you can import dashboards from the community, right? So let's go do that. You can go to grafana.com, dashboards. And yeah, so there's a nice looking dashboard that doesn't have Chinese characters for the node exporter. Node exporter is the, okay, node exporter is the thing which monitors the Linux kernel. So let us import that dashboard. Load and import. And then you have the dashboard for that. So let us open up some panels, the CPU usage. There are 2 CPUs and we are using like 0.2% of the CPU. Not much. Let's look at memory usage. 23% of the memory we are using. Again, Prometheus is cheap. Grafana is cheap, so you don't need to use a lot of resources for that. I want to see some cool panels. Yeah, the disk write latency. So most of my disk writes are succeeding in 1 millisecond. So this is like a dashboard where you can monitor any Linux machine that you want. There's also dashboards for Windows and a lot of things that you can do with Grafana. So creating a dashboard is simple. You just go plus, you add a graph, edit, and I don't know. Let's graph the memory being used. Oh. I don't know, I'm just gonna do a random query. Yeah, so now that you have your query, you have the graph, you can add more panels, different kind of visualizations. And then you have your dashboard. You click save, and you can go to manage all your recent dashboards. You have your dashboards, and you can add alerts to it. So yeah, that is my demo. TLDR, go. One-click some apps, install a lot of things, open a lot of pull requests to all these open source projects. Thank you.